talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Thursday night? Tonight, let me tell you about the Anarchist Cookbook. You're not going to believe what's in this book if you've just heard about it or heard references to it. I'm going to give you the full scoop on it. And again, you're not going to believe 90% of what I tell you because this was a thing It was a big, big thing, all right? At any rate, please take a second to like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those absolutely free things you can do to help us out here on our little show with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. Matter of fact, the Anarchist Cookbook, if it was written today, would have ways to mess with the algorithm. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Also, we do have super chats. We do have memberships. We love it when you do those things because they help us pay the bills around here. Last but not least, let's get the begging bar up. You can turn on your gifted memberships because very generous people might just gift you a membership out of nowhere, and that unlocks that exclusive members-only content that you so desperately crave and you so rightfully deserve here on the Tom Gulley Show. Also, the correct URL to the merchandise store is in the description of the show now. And we'll get those new designs up here. They'll appear in a couple of days. As soon as they're approved, they're pending right now. So anyway, with all that being said, let's get to a few of your comments before we dive into the show. Funky Bronco at 8 o'clock this morning came into this inactive chat room and wrote, hick. Yeah. And then he says he can't wait for the show today. Well, that also was at 8:01 this morning. He says he knows it's going to be a good one. The ghost episode yesterday sure was spooky. Thank you. Is Funky at it again? Yes, he is. Look who we have here. It is the one, the only, the often imitated, never duplicated, rumpled trenchcoat. A Columbo podcast says, hey, hiya, folks. If you're not listening to Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast, I'm telling you, you are missing out. Watch the episode, then go to YouTube and listen to the recap of the episode. It is a spectacular way to watch Columbo, and they knows some Columbo stuff. He says, thanks, good to be back. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. OMG, Trey is here. Welcome. Everybody say hi to Trey. I think he's new. He might not be. I don't know. He might have just changed his name or something. And he says, banana peels. Well, one of the things about the Anarchist Cookbook is it told people how to make mind-altering substances from everyday household items. And yes, it does tell you how to get schwacked out of your mind by using banana peels. People saying hi. People saying hi, kinda. Dancing to the song. Eat that nutmeg. Yes, DMT, anyone? More dancing. He prefers the banana peel nutmeg soup. Maybe Benadryl. There's clapping going on, which is always great. More clapping. Innate Ways is here. Innate says, give the thumbs up button. A little bit of attention, folks. Thanks. Innate, good to see you here. Innate is a denizen of another channel here on the internet, and we're glad to have him over here. Rumple Trenchcoat says, I remember hearing about the cookbook in high school long before the advent of the internet. Yeah, that's how I found out about the smoking banana peel. There was a kid in my high school that used to do that. And yeah, it was... The Anarchist Cookbook was weird because even today people think it's banned in the United States, and it never has been. But we'll get into all of that in a second. Now, its legality has been challenged all over the world, but it's never been illegal here. Oh, my goodness. Rumpled Trenchcoat has gifted us 5 Tom Gulley Show memberships. I don't know who got them, but I hope whoever got them likes them because that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think gifted memberships are probably the best way to support the show because they're not that expensive and you look really cool. Not that Rumpled Trenchcoat, he's Fonzie level cool to start with, and for that, you're not getting the point. You're getting Columbo. Yes, you are getting Columbo because I know you're into Columbo. There he is. There he is, the one, the only, Columbo. I tell you what, we have such fun on this show. Anyway, I hope people were listening. Well, I hope so too. I hope so too. Hey, is that Fonzie? Let's see. Paladine Press has the whole list available. Warning, you will be contacted by the Thunderbolt of Justice, which is a really awful, terrible newsletter put out by some very racist people. Jack Straw is here. Jack's been here before, but he says, you're going to make us some acid out of morning glory seeds and drain cleaner. These are the kinds of things that you find in the Anarchist Cookbook. H2BH right back at you, Trey. Happy to be here. That's a Pod Awful Cult greeting. And by the way, if you get a chance, give the Pod Awful Cult $1. There's got to be a way to do it at podawful.pizza or perhaps the YouTube page, but they need $1 from you. And I heartily support that. People saying hi, people laughing. Jack Straw says, Smoking Banana Peels by the Dead Milkmen. We'll get into that too. I've got all of that here. You guys are doing the show in the chat room. Stop it. Jean1313, she just picked up a free membership yesterday. We love it when she's here. Says hi to all the gully heads. The Wolf says, I, of course, have 1 and 2. Well, of course. People saying hi. Pew, pew, pew. Hello, Jean. Hello. And Jean says, all the kids had a copy when I was in school. Well, there you are. And more people saying hi. The most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. Blackberry Dr. Pepper Zero. So good. Also having breakfast for dinner tonight after the show. I decided. Lastly, tomorrow night's show will be about my favorite episodic TV show of all time, Due South. And just for the Wolf, that will kind of leapfrog us into next week because Monday's show is going to be on legendary character actor William Smith. And you might say, William Smith, I've never heard of him. Not only have you heard of him, you've seen him in a million movies and TV shows, okay? And he was in Due South. So I also, just so you know, will have links to extremely high quality YouTube of Due South. And I might point you to 10 episodes or so or whatever. There's 60 some episodes, almost 70 of Due South. So probably a show you haven't seen, all of you, but some of you may have. But I will turn you on to that tomorrow, and you will love it. You will love it. People saying hi. Jack Straw would like me to demonstrate the hand-to-hand combat illustrated in the cookbook. I have a deal with Phil Elmore where he does all of our hand-to-hand combat illustration. OMG Trey says, oh, nice. Breakfast for dinner is best. Where's Chef? He must like shows about cookbooks. Chef is in the house. Boom. Out of nowhere. You ask and you receive. Okay, so the Anarchist Cookbook is just an amazing creation. Absolutely amazing. And it is, come on, there we go. And it was written by a guy named William Powell. Now, I searched and searched and searched for photos of William Powell. I think some exist, but I'm not licensed to use them. He doesn't even have his own wiki page. That's how underground this guy went. And it was written by him when he was a teenager and published in 1971, which was kind of the height of the counterculture wave that was sweeping the United States to protest the U.S. involvement in Vietnam. So William Powell, as a teenager, was inspired by experiences that he had with Vietnam vets that were living where he lived in New York City. And it was at that time where the pacifist movement, you know, hey, we're just going to protest passively, we're not going to be violent. Yeah, that was going off to the side, and much more aggressive, much more in your face, and much more, frankly, violent manners of extreme manners of protest and counterculture behavior were being espoused in the general public, not just in the underground. You remember the show we did on the Weatherman Underground. That kind of thing was starting to happen, okay? He had plans to become a writer, but got very, very, very political when he was drafted into the Vietnam War. And that inspired him to write these recipes and turn them into a cookbook. Now, it's a little bit of an anachronism because guess what? There are actual recipes in this book, and there are other things in there that are put forward as recipes that are really more hints, or like now we'd call them hacks. We'd say they're life hacks, okay? So the initial idea that he had was to put instructional posters and flyers throughout New York City that would say, here's how you properly throw a Molotov cocktail. For those of you who don't know, that's a bottle filled with gasoline and with a rag in it. Light it, throw it, it explodes on someone you don't like. Or how to make LSD at home, okay? So these flyers, these ideas, were finally all put together into an entire book. From about 1968 to 1970, he researched the U.S. Combat Bookshelf at the New York Public Library and other things like the Boy Scout Handbook and various anarchistic books like Blank the System by Abby Hoffman. I could, but I won't say. It's a word that starts with F. So he got all of these various, here's some handbooks the government did. Here's the Boy Scout handbook. Here's the way people that are in the sort of anarchistic political vein treat their writings. And he started to make kind of a mishmash out of that. So he gets an initial manuscript and he sends it to this fella right here. And this fella, we do have a lot of pictures of. I don't know why. He's not particularly a fashion model, but we do. And his name is Lyle Stewart. And that was done in 1970. Now, Lyle Stewart, let's just go ahead and say, is a very pivotal character in the existence of the Anarchist Cookbook. Now, William Powell, the author, he said that it was initially designed as a book meant to provide an education, not to the people who are already sort of rabidly anti-government or anti-culture. It was to get the silent majority of Americans to take action. And he described it as not for fringe people, but he wanted to show the average person, here's some things you can do to get back at the man. Because you got to stick it to the man. Because the man's always trying to keep us down. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, he wanted the general population to have the ability and the abilities to organize against fascist, capitalist, or even communist threats. This was his way to destabilize power structures of government, of economies, whatever it might be. And he said, and this is an actual quote, the central idea to the book was that violence is an acceptable means to bring about political change. And he would later completely abandon that particular viewpoint, okay? He would later just absolutely abandon it. Look at Lyle Stewart there. Doesn't he look proud? All right. So he writes this book as a teenager, but then in 1976, 5 or 6 years later, he converts to Anglicanism, which is sort of a, I don't know, it's part of the Church of England, and it's it's not totally pacifist, but it's pretty pacifist. Anyway, and he tried to have this book completely removed from circulation. He wanted nothing to do with it, right? In 1979, he left the United States. He traveled the Middle East, Africa, parts of Asia. He worked as a faculty member for various international schools that were backed by the United States. And during this time, he began writing about pedagogy. You know what pedagogy is, right? It basically, pedagogy is the scholastic approach to teaching. You have to have pedagogy classes when you get a teaching license, which are classes about how to teach people, which is a little bit circular, you know what I mean? It's like, to teach people, you have to take a class about how to teach people. Anyway, and also conflict resolution. He was very big into conflict resolution. So he renounces the book, and he starts campaigning very heavily for having it withdrawn from publication. And he was unable to stop this because the copyright for the Anarchist Cookbook had been issued to the original publisher, this guy over here, Lyle Stewart, and subsequent publishers that bought the rights from Lyle Stewart or someone else and have kept the title in print to this very day. He renounced the book publicly again in 2013, calling for the book to quickly and quietly go out of print, which, strangely enough, would only make the existing copies of the book way more valuable. So I don't know what, anyway. He had difficulty finding employment throughout his life, having described the book as a youthful indiscretion or mistake that can haunt someone during the early years or even longer. In 2011, Powell and his wife, Ochan Kusuma Powell, founded Next Frontier Inclusion, a nonprofit organization for children with developmental disabilities and learning disabilities, and described it as a means to atone, to make up for writing the Anarchist Cookbook. And he died of a heart attack on the 11th of July in 2016. So, originally, he sent the manuscript to over 30. But let me just get to some of your comments, because I see they are piling up. Well, they're not piling up, but the Wolf, always anxious to divert the actual topic of what I'm talking to something he's interested in. I also have How It's Made. It tells you how to make everything from F1 cars to bombs. Duck and cover, everyone. Nobody cares. That's not a famous book. It's not the topic. You always just have to make it. It's F1 cars. Who wants to make an F1 car? Nobody in the United States. People here don't care about F1. It's too fancy. I'm just kidding. Hi, Chef. People saying hi. People saying hi. Coach Mike Rodick says, Phil Elmore. What happened to that guy? Phil Elmore made his escape from the Dabbleverse, and he said, I don't need this. And he went back to his very productive, very successful life, and is probably the most well-adjusted person any of us will ever know. He's a very, very intelligent, very pleasant, wonderful guy. So that's what happened to Phil Elmore. Let's see. Hello to all my friends in chat. Oh, hey, Tom. Hello. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. OMG, Trey has become a member. Trey, for that, I will give you the point. Trey, for that, you're getting the point. I hope you... Well, doggone it, I opened up the wrong box. You're getting the point for that, Trey. You're getting... There you go, Trey. Right there. How about that? Hey, buddy. You're one of us now. Look at that. And it's got the Ball State Power Ring in the picture and the All My Best. Hey, Trey, thank you for becoming a member. Now, okay, look, here, let's point something out here. I think it's safe for everyone to say, I am no standard of male beauty. This much is, look at this. This much is obvious, right? However, compared to this guy, I'm Brad Pitt. All right. Let's see here. Blanket. Yes. Yes. Rumpled Trenchcoat says, didn't want people to be an scapegoat. Victor says, never heard the word pedagogy. Yes, it's when I got my teaching license, they told me I'd have to take classes about that, and I went, well, I must not be very smart because I don't even know what that is. Ginny, 100%. It is the topic. I'm an anarchist, you jerk. I bet you're from the north. Well, it's not about, the topic is the Anarchist Cookbook. It's not whatever book you think is like the Anarchist Cookbook. Please. You just bend it to be whatever you want. Because you used to be a professional bodybuilder and got used to bending things. Nice. Let's see here. Julian says, I'll send you all my used banana peels, Wolf. There you go. There you are. People Laughing Chef says hi to everybody. Okay, so originally he took this manuscript of this highly, let's see. Hey, Tom, just an idea. Maybe you should do an episode on the Wolf's book. Never. I now hate that book. That's my least favorite book ever. If I had one here, I would burn how it's made. I would burn it. And then I would let animals use the bathroom on it. I hate that. That's a dumb book. F1 cars, first thing, have somebody slam your tongue in a door jam so you talk funny. That's how you know they like F1. He's cornering. Too fancy, F1. F1's too fancy. Plus, they used to make the cars wear raincoats. Who puts a raincoat on a car? Please. Let's see. Wolf says, I'm a cook and an anarchist. I don't need banana peels. I have liquor. It probably tells how to make liquor in the thing. Everybody's a cook. If you heat up a burrito in the microwave, you're a cook these days. Oh, Victor. Victor's another guy. He's got his autobiography. Victor writes his autobiography in the chat room during the show. And at first, it was very disconcerting. Now I'm kind of into it. Victor says, went to a doctor's office once, female doc, somehow, got around to the doc saying, neither of us will win a beauty contest. Wow. Sorry to hear that. Mike Rodick says, never liked F1 cars, but now I want to build one. Remember car bras? I do remember car bras, but they used to make the cars in F1 wear raincoats, these big clear plastic raincoats. It was so stupid. Let's see. Trey is laughing. Victor is being laughed with, not at. Okay, so he takes this book to 30 publishers till finally Lyle Stewart, who just looks like, yeah, I'll buy your book. He's talking to him on the phone. He bought the book, but he also bought the copyright. And William Powell received royalties for the book, about $35,000, until he split with the company in 1976. Now, despite Powell's protest against the continued publication, the copyright never, ever belonged to him. It belonged to this fella here. Well, technically it belonged to Lyle Stewart Incorporated, because look at this guy. Would he name his publishing company anything else but Me Incorporated? No, he wouldn't. So the publisher agreed to publish the text in an effort to deny the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA and the FBI, to obtain lists of people who checked out books that were deemed subversive, which they were really aggressively trying to do. So Lyle Stewart kept publishing the book until the company was bought in 1991 by a guy named Stephen Schragis, who decided to drop it. Out of the 2,000 books published by the company, It was the only one that Schragus decided to stop publishing. Now, he said publishers have a responsibility to the public, and the book had no positive social purpose that could justify keeping it in print. But copyright was bought in 2002 by Delta Press, also known as Ozark Press, an Arkansas-based publisher that specializes in controversial books, where the title is their most asked for volume. And as of 2016, just 9 years ago, over 2 million copies of the book had been sold. Okay. Now let's get what's actually in this book, right? Okay, hold on. Before we do that, let's get into your comments. What? Nobody wants to build the bomb? Well, you can get that information a lot of places. Let's see. That's called Chef Mike. Pre-Royce. It does look like Royce, doesn't it? Proto-Royce from ROTC. That's funny. Coach Mike Rodick also has a great observation. The guy looks like Wolfman Jack's more unattractive brother. Victor, you missed the joke. The fact that you were completely off about what he's about is funny, or some such nonsense. Yeah. Doopa is here. Always good to see Doopa. People saying hi. Says, Trey, welcome to the Gullerinos. Yes, Trey, welcome. And thanks for Jack Straw being here as well. Victor says, I thought the doc was attractive. Well, see, we got these side conversations that are just... Anyway, hey, Dupa. Happy to be here, Dupa, H2BH. People saying hi. Don't get a bunch of smoke detector. No, never do that. People saying hi, and people saying hi. The Rumpled Trenchcoat being warmly received after a short hiatus. But he was here in spirit. He was here in spirit, by God. So, the Anarchist Cookbook begins with a foreword section, like most books. And that details the intention of the book. And he thought, William Powell, that the United States was slowly going toward communism. So he wanted to write a book that guided people against that. He wanted people to revolt against this slow transition to communism. And he said he wanted to bring America back where she was 200 years ago, which is an idea that never goes out of popularity. And he thought his ideas were not revolutionary, but reactionary rather than proactive. In other words, that everything in the book was a reaction to things that were already going on. And he begins with his vision of how he wants to educate and galvanize the public to make a tangible change in whatever country they're in, okay? He says fringe political organizations like the Minutemen and the Weathermen are not in the intended audience of the book. They're kind of already there, right? He wants it for the silent majority, like I mentioned earlier. He begins the content of the book by discussing anarchy and anarchist theory. And he said anarchy is a wide-scale mass uprising of people, which we can all sort of get on board with, similar to, but not exactly like, civil disobedience through violence. And he believed that it was the natural urge of all people to be anarchistic, and that human nature should drive people to participate in the things he outlines in this book. He said the current expression of politics, art, music, and education all had anarchistic ideals, because this was that counterculture, forget pacifism, let's stick it to the man, time of, historical evolution. And he says that this is serious stuff in this book. he warns people in the beginning of the book. The things in this book could have deadly consequences if you don't do them properly. And he's got descriptions and detailed instructions of things like hand-to-hand combat, explosives, booby traps, drugs, a lot of stuff on drugs, tear gas, sabotage, demolition, surveillance, improvised weapons, anything basically that has to do with creating anarchy. And I actually have a copy of the cookbook open on my screen right now. I'm gonna get into that really quickly here. I'm just gonna go through the table of contents real quick, okay? And there's illustrations in the book, but I'm just gonna tell you they're not very good. They're good enough. They're good enough, but they're not like great illustrations. DMT, which is kind of like LSD, but not exactly. Barbiturates. Well, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the hyperlinks rather than the book itself. Incidentally, the book's printed in kind of a cool font. So anyway, pot. And by the way, these are the categories of all these things. In each section, there are recipes for them. I'm not going to read them here because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, but I am going to tell you that there are recipes, actual recipes to make cookies, brownies, all sorts of food with these things. There's also instructions on how to create, make, or harvest these things. Okay? So pot, peyote, psilocybin, DMT, kind of an LSD, bananas. Yes, if you scrape the inside of banana peels and then you boil them and turn them into a paste and then you cook them in an oven, look out. Amphetamines, amyl nitrate, cough syrup, glue, cocaine, heroin, nutmeg. Look out for your nutmeg. Peanuts, hydrangea leaves, the leaves of a hydrangea, yes. And then he gets into like weapons, natural weapons, pointed sticks, things of that nature. Hand-to-hand combat, application of hand weapons, various hand weapons. I'm going to go to that section here. Knives, impromptu weapons, brass knuckles and clubs, cattle prods. Yes, even in that early 70s, cattle prods could be used as a weapon, now known as tasers, I guess. The garrote, guerrilla training, pistols and revolvers, holsters, rifles, semi-automatic, automatic weapons, shotguns, converting a shotgun into a grenade launcher, silencers, how to build a silencer for a pistol, how to build a silencer for other things, chemicals and gases, how to make tear gas in your basement, defense and medical treatment, and then explosives and booby traps, how to make nitroglycerin, mercury fulminate, blasting gel, all sorts of stuff, chloride of azode, ammonium nitrate, gelatin dynamite, TNT. All of this stuff is in this book. All right? Smokeless powder. I don't want to get into this too much because I don't want to get dinged by YouTube for any of this. Molotov cocktails, road traps, walk traps, release pressure detonators, book traps, loose floorboard traps, chimney traps, lamp traps, car traps, pipe traps, pen traps. A lot of traps. A lot of traps. A lot of traps. And then he gets into a lot of like communication stuff, right? He gets into ways to eavesdrop, a Thelby phone, carbon buttons, crystal mics, dynamic mics, buttonhole mics, subminiature mics, suction cup wall listeners, parabolic reflectors, electronic stethoscope, he also has other weird stuff: beer can weapons, correct grip for holding a knife. But there's stuff in here about freaking. All right. Oh, by the way, he does get into demolition type stuff, railroad sabotage, T-beam bridge demolition. I'm not getting into a ton of this stuff because it's just a little too, But he gets into ways to fool the phone company, like telephone freaking. For instance, if a telephone didn't have service, you could hit the switch handle on it enough times to make it think it was active. There's all sorts of stuff like that. Ways to subvert the basic technologies that they had available to them at the time. Okay, let me see if I can find here some of that, because that stuff, it doesn't work anymore, so might as well see if I can read it to you. But I have to go back to the front of the book here. Come on. Let's see. Oh, it's not doing the thing I thought it was going to do for me. Anyway, where's all the freaking stuff? Where's all that freaking stuff I was wanting to talk about here? There's no index on this book, so it's really, there is a postscript, and there's lots of illustrations that are just not very good. Sorry. I thought I'd be able to go directly to these things. I can't, which is really sad. Electronics and sabotage and surveillance. This is the section that I want. All right, I'm where I want. Let's see, electronics. Oh, parking meters. You could use a number 14 washer with Scotch tape on a payphone. Splitting on a penny. He explains other books that tell exactly how to use that. He also talks about you can start a pirate radio station in a matter of minutes if you have a mobile way to do it. You can get around the FCC regulations under the FCC's low power transmission regulations, And if you chain those together, the low power ones, you'd have in effect a big one. Let's see here. Payphones. He says he's broken into every kind of payphone that there is. And parking meters are very easy. But he considers communications one of the biggest ways to be subversive. The phone company can tell right away if you're calling from a payphone, so this should be avoided. Call from a private phone, which you cannot be connected with, and limit your content to under 90 seconds. Most law enforcement organizations, companies, corporations, and businesses have more than one phone line. In most cases, more will be unlisted. The common misconception is that a person can render a phone useless by dialing a number and, before the party answers, leave the phone off the hook. This is not true and doesn't work. Even if the caller doesn't hang up the phone, the receiver can get a dial tone by hanging up himself and holding the phone down for 30 seconds. The other truly effective method is the most dangerous and entails the actual cutting of phone wires. And he gets into what tools to use and everything else. So let's just say very, very detailed. I'm sure you guys have been making comments all along here. Let's get to some of them. And Michael Gardner says, do you really think I haven't read the Anarchist Cookbook from cover to cover? How else do you think I learned to prepare my famous no rules or regulations paella? That'd be one way to do it. Well, it's every bit as good as your stick it to the man salad, I'm sure. Trey says the FBI will definitely show up if you get hundreds of smoke detectors and hide them in your shed. They definitely will. Rumpled Trenchcoat is happy. The Wolf says, I'm going to find my copies and do some cooking. No, wait. People saying hi. People saying hi. Have you tried the duck a la bombe recipe? I have not. It's quite something. Simply sublime. The Wolf says, did you say explosive? Well, I don't know how explosive he is, but he does look like a real stick of dynamite. Tryptamine, yes. Nutmeg, oh yes. People are laughing. What kind of witch's brew can you make with nutmeg? Oh, there are several different things you can do with nutmeg, Michael. Let me see here if I can find them real quick. If I can find them very, very quickly. Hold on here. I got to redo some things. Nutmeg. Yes, nutmeg. Dear sweet nutmeg. Let me get to the... let's see, nutmeg is here, so that's going to be 27. Let's just try 53. 94, that's the other section. I think that's the hash. The hash section, let's see here. Nutmeg will be coming up in a second, I'm sure. Nutmeg. Nutmeg is actually toward the end of the food section. Hold on, let me move forward a little bit. Mescaline acid sulfide. Well, I don't think we need to. Psilocybin. Let's see. So, yeah, he's telling here how to make psilocybin bread. There's some crazy. It's DMT, so I'm way far away. I need to move this. I need to step this up. Oh, no, I don't. Synthetic. I'm trying to find the nutmeg section for you here, Buckaroo. Amphetamines, methadone, barbiturates, heroin, peanut, hydrangea leaves. Okay, there we go. Here's the nutmeg part. Here we go. Nutmeg can be used for a psychedelic experience since it does contain the ingredient L-amycin, which has hallucinatory properties. This recipe can be compared to the one for rotten peppers published in the East Village Other, as nutmeg does work mildly. Let's see. Method for preparation of nutmeg. I'm not going to give it to you here because I don't want to get in any trouble. And peanut, by the way. There's one for peanut as well. Yeah. Looks dubious to me, but maybe it works. I don't know. Anyway, Trey says, diphenylhydramine. Converting a shotgun into a grenade launcher. Witch's brew smoothie. Is there a section on Panzer chocolate? No, there is not, sadly, on Pevity. Julian Caesar said, I would have settled for a good mac and cheese recipe. Well, there's a lot of recipes in here, man. And here's one thing. This thing is so informally written. Avoid unpleasant company when high on drugs, especially acid or mescaline, as sometimes bad company can throw an individual into a panic just as easily as he can himself. This is also true to a smaller degree with marijuana. Smoke with friends. Some sadistic C words have been known to play incredibly cruel games with an individual's mind while he is... I mean, he's got all these little asides that are just good rules to live by, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Gardner says there's so many good recipes that can be made with items you already have in your home. Yeah, think of this as an extremely subversive episode of Chopped. Those of you familiar with the Food Network. It's just a really subversive episode of Chopped. My sister-in-law got pipe trapped. Oh boy. The Von Traps. Yes. Goodbye. So long. Auf Wiedersehen. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Hey, I'm Subminiature Mike. Nice poll, Rumpled. That is really good. That was a great poll. Freaking with the phone. Let's call up an airstrike. Plunger, the plunger. Based on the tone, you route the call differently so you can whistle your way to any phone. Yes, and also in the phone freaking, if you had these little tone generators, you basically, before the tones were on the phones themselves, there was a period of time where they were being used by the phone company. You might be able to faintly hear them, but they were the phone's stations talking to each other. You could actually do that, and you could actually freak your way to free long-distance phone calls. Long-distance phone calls used to be really expensive, and I'm going to do a show on long-distance phone calls. It's a bit weird in this day and age for people to think, oh, that costs money. That costs a ton of money back in the day. Tons. It's hard to tell in that picture, but William Powell is actually whistling in the phone. That's Lyle Stewart. Do you remember party lines on a dial-up phone? Yes, my grandparents had a party line. The artist for the handbook was in 5th grade. It was the same kid that made the figures for I Stood Where They Fell, a very popular artist. Yeah, I could show you some of these diagrams. They're not very good. So this book is like MacGyver, but not as cool. Pretty much. Pretty much. Dupa says, Julian, nothing is as cool as MacGyver. Julian Zeter says, MacGyver versus the A-Team. Who wins? I call that a draw. There's an episode of MacGyver where he's got this, well, as usual, he's got this hot babe with him, and he's gotten them out of 2 or 3 fixes, you know. And at one point she goes, what's next? You going to make a bomb out of some chewing gum? And he goes, why? You got some? Which I thought was a great answer. Michael Garner's going to figure out the nutmeg thing. The Anarchist Cookbook is on the Internet Archive, man. Don't stop me. Please no. Okay, I won't. I knew a Michael Gardner, just spelled that way. There are tons of us. Okay, cool. It worked. I promise I'm not him. Got no time for jibber jabber. Mr. T, I got no time for that jibber jabber. Some applause. Are you sure, though? I don't know what that's referring to. Admit it used to have the Mr. T GPS. Turn right at the next intersection, fool. That would be great to have. I wish. Mac and cheese. At the time of its publication, many people in the United States government did not like the Anarchist Cookbook. Here's one of those guys, our legendary hater of free speech and the Bill of Rights. Oh, by the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things you can do to help the show out. That'd be great. Memberships and super chats, and turn on your gifted memberships. Tomorrow, due south. I know Friday shows, a lot of people are busy. They're doing things. They're tired from things. This is going to be a big thing on the Tom Gulley Show because it's my favorite episodic TV show of all time. I'm going to give you a way to get super high, really good digital quality copies of these episodes to watch. And we're going to preview William Smith a little bit, one of me and the Wolf's favorite actors for a variety of reasons. Anyway, J. Edgar Hoover didn't like it. See, the book was reviewed by the Department of Justice, the White House, the FBI, and by both John Dean, Nixon's attorney, and Mark Felt. You know him better as the guy that was Deep Throat, and this fella here, J. Edgar Hoover. Now, the FBI had a memo that described it as one of the crudest, lowbrow, paranoid writing efforts ever attempted. And while having concerns about the text, the FBI concluded it could not be regulated as it was published through mass media, and they ruled that the Anarchist Cookbook did not incite forcible resistance to any law of the United States and is therefore protected under the First Amendment. While much of the book was, by the FBI anyway, thought to be inaccurate, they concluded that the chapter on explosives appears to be accurate in most respects. And since its conception, the FBI has kept records of the book, releasing the bulk of its investigation file in 2010. Yes. Yeah. Now, some people in the anarchy world have denounced it. The anarchistic collective Crime the Inc., which published the book Recipes for Disaster, an Anarchist Cookbook, in response, they denounced it, saying it was not composed or released by anarchists and not derived from anarchistic practice and doesn't promote freedom, and it was barely a cookbook, as many of the recipes in it are notoriously unreliable. Yeah. The book itself, during the period of time when it was unavailable, was copied and made available as text documents through Usenet and FTP sites hosted in academic institutions in the early 1990s, and have been made available via web browsers to the present day. As I mentioned, it's on the Internet Archive. The name varies slightly from Anarchist Cookbook to Anarchy Cookbook, and the topics have expanded sometimes. The version I was just looking at is the real McCoy. Knowledge of the book or copied online publications of it increased along with the increase in public access to the internet. Newspapers ran stories about how the text was easy to get a hold of, and influence of it, may have had with terrorist criminals and experimenting teenagers. The book was actually a central element of a movie, a romantic comedy called The Anarchist Cookbook. This is a different thing. This is a documentary called The American Anarchist, but there was a romantic comedy called The Anarchist Cookbook, and the disavowing of it by William Powell is the subject of this documentary film, American Anarchist, by Charlie Siskel. William Powell is actually in this documentary, and he explains in depth his thoughts on the book and the consequences it had in his life. It further explores the themes of responsibility and repercussions that it had upon his life. And his death received little coverage, actually, until this documentary was released shortly after his death. In the United Kingdom, the possession of the Anarchist Cookbook without reasonable excuses would be you're a teacher or you're a law enforcement person, is a criminal offense and has been successfully prosecuted under Section 58 of the Terrorism Act in 2000. Now, there are many notable things that have happened with a copy of this book in people's possession. And I'm going to blow through some of them as quick as I can. But in 1973, 2 bombings of military recruitment centers in Portland, Oregon by anti-war activists had the Anarchist Cookbook in that group's library. Police linked the bombing of the Grand Central Terminal and hijacking of a TWA flight to Croatian radicals who used instructions from the Anarchist Cookbook. In 1981, the Anarchist Cookbook was linked to Puerto Rican rebels who bombed an FBI headquarters using the book's instructions. Thomas Spinks also referred to the text during the bombings of 10 abortion clinics in the United States. 2002, the Canadian government permitted the book to be imported from the United States. Canada Customs and Revenue concluded the book does not violate either hate or obscenity laws, so in you go. In 2005, the London public transport bombers were linked to the book. In 2007, a 17-year-old was arrested in the United Kingdom and faces charges of anti-terrorism for possessing the book. He was cleared a year later, arguing he was just a prankster who wanted to research fireworks and smoke bombs. The Anarchist Cookbook in 2012 was found to have been in possession of James Holmes, the perpetrator of the Aurora Theater shooting in Colorado. In 2013, renewed calls were made in the United States to ban the book, citing links to a school shooting in Arapahoe, Colorado, and the 2013 Santa Monica shootings. In 2015, U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein pushed to have the book removed from online databases. The book was in 2016 refused classification by the Office of Film and Literature Classification upon release, making the book banned in Australia. Yeesh. Yeah. 2021, Ben John, a 21-year-old student, was found guilty of possessing a copy of the book on a computer hard drive and was given a suspended sentence and told by a UK judge to read classical literature such as Pride and Prejudice, only for the Court of Appeals to rule that order unlawful, sentencing him to 3 years, 2 in custody, 1 what they call on license, which is, I assume, similar to what we have here called parole. So there's just about all I have to tell you really about the Anarchist Cookbook. As I say, it is on the Internet Archive. If you would like, you can go there and type it in and read the whole ding-dang-dong thing. It's a little difficult to get through. Just a little bit difficult to get through, to be honest with you. It really is. It's tough. It's a toughie. Let me see here. Let me get to your comments. The Wolf said McWeaver could make a missile launcher out of a straw. Victor says never made bombs. Stupid as a teenager, though. Wolf says that guy was a real jerk. He might be the king of jerks. Till tomorrow. Doopadoopadooses ever throw items off a roof to test gravity and destroy things? That's a David Letterman move there. I think we all did that, though. I remember Mr. Hoover. He never had a connection with him. Just a working guy, retired now. Doopa, you just opened a can of worms. Wolf, I knew it. I can't really read all the comments anymore. I got to just read certain ones. True anarchists are well organized and follow a strict nonviolent regimen. I don't think they follow nonviolence, Michael Garner. I really don't. Julian Zezer says, any enterprising cannery ever sold a can of worms? Boy, you'd think so, wouldn't you? No way you can trust a canary with a can of worms. Yeah. Yes, Julian, Wormy's Bait and Tackle. The guy's name actually was Wormy. Ick. Victor, that's not a little known fact. Oh, yeah, and Michael Garner correctly pointing that out. 2 different things. And trust him on that. Victor, it's well known. We all know the story about him dressing up as Vivian Vance. Yeah, and he had that assistant for forever. Remember his assistant that was with him that was also a special agent and all that? Yesterday was a spooky episode, says Funky Bronco. How was your day, Wolf? It's been fine, Funky. Michael Garner says the Newtown shooter was found with a copy of school. Now, hey, I don't think that's true. I think I was responsible for the company to make a Cliff Notes. Oh, boy. That's okay, Victor. You're fine here. You're fine. Rumpled Trenchcoat celebrating 1 year of membership. Well, that's just... Everybody, let's please, come on. Let's put Galumbo up again, because it's kind of creepy looking at... I'm just going to leave Galumbo up in honor of Rumpled Trenchcoat, because looking at J. Edgar Hoover, isn't it creepy, kind of, when you know what his side things are like? Let's see here. What did you did what to a... Julian Zeezer also celebrating 12 months. A salute back to you, sir. Dupa Dupa Doo, also a year-long member. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. 12 months of top quality service at the same location. People clapping. Wolf says, you know, anarchists are pleased as pie on the surface, but very pugnacious underneath. J. Edgar Hoover is actually whistling in that picture. Yeah, just not from the front. Yes, it was funky. J. Edgar, very creepy. We have a new member again. Welcome, Trey. Yes, the old and the something borrowed, something blue, something old, and something new. Wow, year-long members. Who'd have thought way back there in April of 2024 that we'd even still be on the air? Who'd have thought it? Especially with every chat room in the former shows I used to be guests on with a major FTG campaign going on. Funky Broncos says you enjoy the show today, Wolfie. I hope so. I'll go ahead and open the phone line since there's so many people with a year anniversary. And leave them on for 5 minutes and nobody will do anything. We only have like 2 weeks, maybe less than 2 weeks of Skype left. And then I'm just going to start posting the link and living on the edge. Let's see here. Way back there in the days of the Greeks and the Romans, it was just considered good manners. Oh, for the love of Pete. For the love of Pete. Breakfast for dinner. I decided, I was looking in the fridge and I went, you know what sounds really good? I think it's because yesterday I had pizza for breakfast. So it kind of switched over. I've been watching that Karen Reed trial. Boy, is that lady getting railroaded. Or did she get railroaded to even have a trial? And what a bunch of cackling shrews that are now all changing their stories. It's kind of fascinating. It's kind of fascinating. But I've been watching a little of that this week. Tom, you need to eat those Earl Thomas cheddar sausage. Oh, the Earl Campbell hot and cheddars. I still got those in the chamber. Those are still there waiting on me. Yeah. Phone lines are open 972-994-6822. I'll go ahead and just put that banner up. I don't think we're going to get any more stuff here. Let's see. Comments. Yes, those are tasty. Yes, Funky. Excuse me. They are tasty. I'll give you that. Those darn things are tasty as bejesus. If that's a thing. They are darn tasty. God, are they good. Oh, well, the sound level always goes down when I switch to. But not anymore. Now we're right back where we want to be. Tomorrow, Due South, an amazing television program, 4 seasons worth, and it's a fish out of water story. The most straight-laced, by-the-book, absolutely true blue Canadian Mountie comes to Chicago on the trail of the killers of his father. And for reasons that don't need explaining at this juncture, he remains as a liaison in the Canadian consulate. And he teams up with the most corner-cutting, streetwise, absolutely typical American police detective. And it's a show that's funny, that's serious, that has elements of fantasy. Extremely well written. It was created and written and directed in many cases by Paul Haggis, the guy that wrote Million Dollar Baby, the guy that wrote and directed Crash. And it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful show. It makes fun of Canada and the United States just a little bit. It's just an amazing show. They've had many, many conventions for this show up in Toronto. I was supposed to go to one, but then I got kidney stones and I couldn't. I may, and when I say I may, I definitely have a bunch, because I got the gift bags from two of the conventions with all the stuff, and I'll show you those. And might also show you my box sets, not that anybody's going to care. And I should check on this right now, the music of Due South. The show is very well known for the music that they had on it. It's great. The soundtrack was great, but also, popular songs in them. Let me see here if I can find them. Let me see if I can find a link, and I'll put it in the chat real quick, so you can at least listen to some of the music if you want to. I could put the link to the pilot, probably. Let me see here. I'm going to put this in my watch later. All right. Let me see here. Due South Sound Track Volume 1. Let me see if they've got a link to that. Let me see if I got a link to that. Well, by God, they do. Let me see here. Review full playlist. I don't want to accidentally play one of these, I think they have both soundtracks here. Looks to me like they do. Maybe. Why does this say 23 videos and then 5 videos are hidden? Well, I'll see if I can find them on the other one then. I'll see if I can find them on the other one. I don't need 27 videos. 2 are hidden. Well, that's better than 5. Okay, so I'm going to give you this yonder here. Oh, here we go. Here's the soundtrack, Oh Music, right? What's going on here? What in the hay is going on here? Somebody put on my, some real jerk put on the Who's On First episode, they put boring on it. And I wrote something snarky to them back. And then I banned them from the show. No, I'm kidding. Almost too tasty. Julian says, Tom, has there ever been an actual pirate radio station that amounted to anything? I think there was an overpowered station in Mexico. Yeah, that Mexican station is actually the birthplace of Wolfman Jack. And yes, there have been pirate radio stations that were very, very well known, like really well known. Do you want me to do a show on pirate radio stations there, cowboy? I'm writing that down right now. There have been some very influential ones, as a matter of fact. Let me see here. Oh, pirate stations. Oh, God, there's too many to list. Man, oh, man. Oh, I went to the wrong... Here we go. Pirate radio station. United States. Daggone it. There were some off the coast of Europe that were really, really popular. Let me see. I don't want to get too far off track here and try to read all this nonsense. Radio Luxembourg, I guess, was one. Yeah. But yes, there have been pirate radio stations that were really big and really, not so much here, but in other places. And I think even here there were some. So there, I put the playlist for the soundtrack to Due South. And let me see if I can put, I'll just do the pilot episode. And then the other, if you see this pilot, then you'll be able to see the rest of the episodes because they're on the same channel. And as I said before, they're extremely good quality. They're in 1080. So, you know, you'll enjoy that. That's if you want to watch it tonight. You know, it's a pilot, so you kind of, you know, they have a lot of work to do, introducing characters and those kind of things. And I'll have all this tomorrow. But if you like binge watching, you really ought to like the Due South series. It is just wonderful, wonderful. Let's see here. My tummy rumbling. Have watched hens clucking over Karen Reed. The way these women are lying. They had a grand jury on Karen Reed, and none of them said any of the things that they're saying now. There's all this inflammatory stuff they said and they heard and they saw. None of it was taken down by the police. The police didn't hear any of it, but they're standing right next to her, supposedly when it happened. This woman's getting railroaded. Oh, the main investigator? Yeah. Fired from the Massachusetts police. Not for other stuff he did, for stuff he did on this case. The main investigator. Are you kidding me? McLeod. It's probably on you. What's probably on YouTube? Come on. You know, a pronoun's a fine thing, Kim. A pronoun's a fine thing, but it's a bridge, not a way, okay? All right? It's a doormat, not a house. Know what I'm saying? Perhaps. I do support Karen Reed. Good for you. I think Cuba and USA got into a radio war at some point. That could be true. There have been various cross-boundary. Well, the Wolf will tell you there's a station that calls itself a San Diego radio station right now that ain't broadcast from San Diego. It's broadcast from Mexico, and that's the Mighty 190. I'd love to get your liquor recipe. Funky, I gave you the recipe weeks ago. Let's see here. Due South Pilot, blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's me. Funky Bronco, I need to correct you. Wolfman Jack did not start on a Mexican border blaster radio station. I didn't say he started on a station like that. I said that he became very popular on a station like that. You know what I'm saying? Man. You know what I'm saying? Man. XERFAM at Ciudad Acuna in Mexico, just across the border from Del Rio, Texas, who high-powered border blaster signal could be picked up across much of the United States. You know what I'm saying, man? You know, man. There you go. Funky, come on, man. Radio Luxembourg was very famous in Europe. Thank you, Funky. It was pirate radio in this country, Funky Bronco. Oh, yes, it was. It was pirate radio in the United States. Let's see. Wolf says, you do realize we are commenting on what you're saying, jerk. Yes, and I am commenting on many, 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 many things. See. Now, I I know you're not a professional writer. I get it. I understand. It's really important. It happened 3 weeks ago. It might make you blind. Oh, I'm sorry. Would those be better with proper nouns? Perhaps they would. Victor says, can't say what happened there, but the court thing is not good. No, it's not. It's really not. All right, I'm turning off the phone lines now. I could have said I'm turning it off now, but I chose to say phone lines as a courtesy to the listener. Well, says all this talk about pirates is making me think of the black spot. Yeah, you never wanted to see the black spot. That meant you were going to be murdered or die if he's a pirate. Oh, you get run over by an entire carriage and you just lay there underneath it and go, oh. Funniest thing I've ever seen. Victor says, when I lived in Gold Beach, loved the pirate station there. And Wolfie says, pirates like to drink alcohol. Are you a pirate? Is you a pirate? Anyway, tomorrow, due south. I'm very excited about it. Very excited about it. And if you don't have time to watch the pilot, listen to some of that music that I put up there first. You know, it's known for its music. Known for... It's really the story of Constable Benton Fraser of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who first came to Chicago on the trail of the killers of his father, and for reasons that don't need explaining at this juncture, has remained as a liaison to the Canadian consulate. Detective Ray Vecchio, the whole Ray Vecchio storyline is amazing. Ray's sister is hopelessly in love with Benton. Benton Fraser has this irresistible sort of wholesome charm that makes him absolutely irresistible to women, which he's too wholesome. He's not going to do anything with that. Plus the fact he was brought up by his grandparents who were librarians. So he's read extensively on everything and knows, like, any subject that comes up, he can talk about it at great length. He is insanely good at tracking people. He can track somebody in a city, in the wilderness. He is the prototype Canadian Mountie in every way. And his father was the granddaddy of them all. Okay, so you just got to see Due South. Please watch that pilot if you have a chance to. The pilot, it's like most pilots. It's good, don't get me wrong. But it's not as good as the show would eventually become, if such a thing can be said. Pilots have a lot of heavy lifting to do. They have to establish characters, they have to set a tone, and then carry a plot line. So, anyway. Hey, kids, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall. And like the Reverend Al Green, I'm going to have to get on up out of here. Now, you do not have to go home, but you can't stay here. Dupe is asking Victor, which Gold Beach? It's the one in Victor's side autobiography. Metal Maiden Vicky and I, good night, folks, says Rumpled Trenchcoat, it is so good to see you again. Thank you for the memberships. You are so generous when you're here. It's just incredible. Even if you weren't generous, which you are, we'd love having you here. You're just always good. And everybody, one more time, If you haven't already, go to Rumple Trench, go to Columbo Podcast, watch the episodes that correspond with their episodes, and then listen to their sort of wrap-up about that show. And you will be in heaven. I swear to you. I swear to you. Metalmate and Vicky and I were talking about the fact, and we were laughing, this isn't a bad thing, that Victor is writing his autobiography in our chat room while I'm talking about something else. Sometimes drive 20 miles up the road, rigger to a guard's idea. Glad to be back. It's been too long. That's the first time I've ever said it's been too long in my life. Kidding. Well, normally someone else says it. You know. Anyway, the real Gold Beach. Thanks, Victor. Okay, so with all that being said, love him, Mike. I hope to see you all here tomorrow. And till next time, we'll see you next time.
We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we're talking about?